Musical Talk at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Hello and welcome to Musical Talk. I'm Thos Ribbits. I'm your slightly weary Edinburgh Fringe courier. Yes, this is the third of 3 episodes dedicated to this year's Edinburgh Fringe, held in August 2010. And what a marvellous time I had. I saw 32 shows, most of which were musicals, in the space of a week. And this is the last of the interviews and other offerings that I can give you from that period. I do hope you'll enjoy it. And the music that you heard, and indeed may still be hearing, is the Dan Kamikaze theme. What the blazes are you talking about, you fool? Well, that's quite the right response, but if I then explain, it's a piece of music from the soundtrack album of the musical The Invective Dan Kamikaze, just one of the musicals I saw in Edinburgh and about which I'll be speaking later. And my thanks to Keith Beattie, who let me play this piece of music and also 1 or 2 other songs from that show, which you'll hear over the course of this episode. But let's get the ball rolling. Very nearly at the end of my chronological journey, but we've still got some interviews to get through. And if you remember, I finished with The Wild Party last week. And within 20 minutes went to see the next musical on there, which was called Saucy Jack and the Space Vixens. Now you may remember in the episode of Musical Talk only recently, where I discussed Blink 2, the review of lost songs from lost musicals, I mentioned I'd been particularly taken by Glitter Boots Saved My Life. And I thought I might go and catch the show in Edinburgh as a result. Well, I did, and here's the result. An interview with the cast and crew. You're listening to Musical Talk.
Miles Levin. I am the producer, director, choreographer, come cast member of Saucy Jack and the Space Vixens.
I'm Will Frost. I'm technical manager, stage manager, try and organise that kind of thing.
I am Nick Sherm. I'm producer, musical director, and I'm also in the show.
Saucy Jack. It's well known on the cult circuit. What made you decide to bring this to Edinburgh this year? It's an open question.
When I was about 10, my brother was in Saucy Jack's in Edinburgh. He was like 19, so he was my age now.
What was he playing?
He was playing Mitch Maypole, the
part
really?
It's
that I
a
was
family
playing.
tradition.
Yes, it is. But yeah, so I saw him do that, and then he transferred to London Bridge, and I saw him there. He was in it every day for 2 years, pretty much. So I saw him lots, and then I was on holiday with Casper and Sophie Caldwell James. We were in Spain. But we'd all just finished college, and we were like, what are we going to do next year, basically? And we should do a show. And I'd been thinking about doing Saucy Jacks for a while, but never really had the opportunity to do it. And so I played them the songs, and they quite liked it. And then, kind of when we got back, I just played them to Nick, and then we kind of started the ball rolling, trying to do it. But we never... Our intention wasn't initially to bring it to the Edinburgh Fringe. It was always just something to do.
So when was this, if you don't mind me asking?
We started. I think we started everything in September. We started all the auditions, and
so very nearly a year.
Oh yeah.
Period,
yeah. Was it March?
I was on holiday in August, and then came back on like the 1st of September or something. So it's literally by the time we finished, we'll be just almost a year.
But we did 3 weekends at the Bull Theatre in Barnet, and we never expected anything like this to happen. We always thought it'd be nice. Like you always think, oh, imagine that. But they went well in Barnet. We sold out completely. Had to put in extra dates, and we thought, and that like for us that was enough, you know.
Because it does bring its own audience to a degree, doesn't it? As cult shows will, people will seek it out.
Exactly, but I mean, there's loads of fans, like really dedicated fans. Like they come in full costume. Like some of their costumes are better than ours. No, they're not. Yeah, like homemade sort of guns and stuff.
Some of the best pouches you're likely to see.
Yeah. And the writers came. Mike Fiddler came to see it, and he was like, "Oh, it's really good. What are you guys thinking of doing next?" And we said, "Well, we would like to go and do something at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival." And they're like, "Well, we'll just take this. This is great. Just go and do it." And that That was about it, really.
So meeting the writers must have been quite impressive. Were you expecting them to come, or was it just a sort of...
Well, it's really small. The show, like, when we decided we want to do it, I just went onto the website, the Saucy Jack's website, and there was only one email address. It was like info@saucyjacks, and I emailed, and I explained that I was Spencer's brother, and that I was looking to do the show, and I'd seen it loads, and I was trying to find out about how to do it, and the guy that emailed back was Mike Fiddler, and he was like, "Oh, I directed it with your brother in it. Yeah, it would be great. I'd love you to do it." So from day one, it was always speaking to him, and then he came down and watched it and was quite friendly and helpful with his involvement and stuff.
They're also supportive, like everything. Everyone who knows the show has been backing us the whole way, like the costumes.
We have not donation of costume, but they're lending us costumes from the London show.
Yeah. Oh, really? They're original
from the Leicester Square show.
And like
I'm sorry to dwell on this, but does that mean you're wearing someone else's pouch?
No, that is my own.
It's my own. I like that's a good answer. I like that.
Promark special.
One of many. But everyone's been backing us the whole way. So it was so exciting when we started doing the show, because you think like you have so much stuff behind you going on. But yeah,
contextual support is actually very helpful, isn't it?
Oh,
you're not quite alone. It just helps you on your way. Tell me, coming to Edinburgh, having done it for a small amount of time in London before you got here, everyone says there's not much time to actually do the tech and all that kind of stuff. What problems did you encounter? What changes have you had to make to the
didn't we encounter?
A shorter list follows.
Well, basically, we got the technical floor plan and all that stuff. So we'd kind of worked to that, because the problem is we changed the venue. Basically, we take out the first 2 rows of seats and put in all our tables and stools and stuff.
So the whole venue becomes the bar.
So it becomes Saucy Jack's, yeah. But
a nice little conceit there.
Yeah, we'd rehearsed with it how we thought it was going to be, and we got there for our technical rehearsal, and it was fine. Plenty of space, all the tape. We had 13 tables and stools in there, plenty of room to move around. And that was fine. Did our teched all the lights to that kind of floor plan. Got to the dress rehearsal, and they'd made the rostra now to put the tables and their chairs in, and it encroached about 3 foot or something into the space.
Shrunk you right.
Right. So that it's not wide enough to put tables and stools on. So initially we were like, okay, we're going to take out this one, and this one in the changeover, and that'll be fine. So for the dress rehearsal, they took those out. There was some left in, but the tables and stools fit. That was fine, and we could still walk on the roster and stuff. Then got to our first show, and they said, we're going to have to put handrails up. Handrails, right?
Because in case you fall off that big step.
Because we were taking them.
It's over 2 foot.
That's
why.
You could very dangerously bruise your dignity.
Yes.
Yeah, it was more for the audience, but so we're like, right, that's fine. Got to the first show, the handrails in...
big speech marks is what you're doing for the radio here.
Had been built, and they were just big,
the barricades,
flat barricades of wood, and we were like,
unmovable.
These you can't see through them. They don't let light through them, and you definitely can't walk through them. This is a problem. So the first show, we completely just had to blag the thing, and then the second show, nothing had changed. Well, we had to. No. We spoke to the venue manager and we're like, listen, all our lights are teched.
Yeah.
We can't get into our lights anymore. They're facing audience members and stuff. We need more tech time. We need to re-tech the show, basically. And we'd had 6 hours to tech, which it would have been plenty of time had we have known how the room was going to lay out. And then we only had the 2-hour dress rehearsal slot, which is the time for the show, basically. But then, we had another 2-hour tech at 2 in the morning till 4 in the morning the other day.
After a show.
After one of the shows.
And you're still moving. Well done.
So now all the lights are set and we're all everything is fine. Yeah.
Back to normal now. Yeah.
And from a technical point of view, how do you find the show once it's settled? Is it?
It's fine. I mean, because we've done the show so much and because I know it so well, it's become a lot easier. and like teching it and stuff. I just do my thing while they do their thing.
And what is your thing? Just because a lot of people won't know some of the aspects of, behind the scenes. They love the actors and they can tell there's musicians, but they sometimes forget there's people in black t-shirts running around pressing all the buttons.
During the tech, what takes most time is plotting the lights, so just programming it in to cues. I think I've got 145 cues for the show.
And but it's because the lighting rig as well is made up of like just pretty much all just white lights, and then all the coloured lights are moving lights. So every cue you have to move them.
Disco feel, in fact.
But you have to move them to where you want them to be for the next cue. Even if it's the same place, you have to put them back.
It's just all the programming, make sure they go to the right place without looking messy. But then you have to do all the sound checking, make sure the mics and there's no feedback, which is a nightmare in this show. Everyone uses everyone else's mic. Yeah,
there's a lot of mic swapping, isn't there? And they turn up in unexpected moments as
well.
Yeah,
a lot of times we'll forget where we need to be. And I need this microphone.
Or someone to pick up a mic.
Yeah, any mic.
The sound guy doesn't like.
Yeah.
And you, if you don't mind me saying, you play the chap with the saxophone, Sammy Sax.
Yeah.
So what's it like performing and playing? As well as being producer, which means every second is money. So. Yeah,
it was actually terrifying. Because I learned saxophone before the show, so I've only.
Better than doing it after.
Oh yeah. But I made him. When we were like casting, I was like, you are the most musical person I know. I know no one that can play the saxophone. You have to learn. You have to learn to play the saxophone because no one else will. Basically. So.
Well, I couldn't tell that you weren't a saxophone genius. So
that's because I can only play 2 songs. I can only play 2 songs. They're getting there. They're getting there. Yeah. I still get nervous every time I have to play saxophone. I still get that jolt in my stomach thinking like, just don't squeak, just please, just be my friend, just don't do anything.
Well, you had the night I came to see you. Unfortunately, it was kicked off its stand, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was pointing in different directions.
It happens every time.
That poor saxophone, it's lost now. It's been kicked on the floor.
For the various shows, it's been
use it to swap
everything.
flies.
Yeah.
What kind of audiences are you getting, and what are the reactions that you're getting? Because the night I was there, everyone was very up, and
a big mix.
And let me tell you as well, I have to say, this isn't the kind of show I would normally have come to see. You can probably tell I'm a very old man, and I like this isn't. I'm not really into sort of pop, and I'm not Rocky Horror. This is in the Rocky Horror mould kind of thing.
Yeah,
it doesn't normally speak to me. I think it's a fine piece of work, but I don't go and see it regularly. I didn't know this one. I knew of it. I didn't know it. But I went to see a review in London only a few weeks ago called Blink Again, which was a series of songs pulled from other shows which hadn't made it on the West End or Broadway. And of course, although this is a cult, it hasn't really done tremendously well on, in the established places, should we say, and once again using speed parks. And the song they played was Glitter Boots Saved My Life, and I thought, this is a great song. And I thought, well, I know that Saucy Jack's going to be up in Edinburgh. I'll give it a punt.
Yeah.
And I was so delighted because I have to say, you won me over completely. And I'm a non-believer. But I'm a believer now. You've genuinely converted me. So what about those, I've spoken a lot. What are the audiences like? If you've won me over, you must be having a great time.
It's been a great mix. I think we haven't had a night yet where people haven't left in the interval, but it's not to everyone's taste.
But it's also quite late, isn't it?
That's the best. That's the best thing though. Like it's people that you come in and you think, oh God, I don't think they're going to like it, and then at the end they're the ones that are dancing the most. That's the best feeling.
We had to, was it last night or the night before? We had to help someone up the stairs with a walking stick, because there's no ramps into the actual auditorium.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh God, are they gonna like it? And then there was this young crowd of people, and we were like, oh, they should like it. They can drink the whole show. The young crowd, clearly, it wasn't enough of a party for them, but the other guys loved it. But it's
a lot of the audience. It is like nobody knows what they expect, and a lot of people, it's just convincing them to try and come, out flyering. You've got to chat to people like yourself. Nobody, it's not their kind of thing, but everyone comes, just loves it.
That's the thing, though. That's what I like. When we first started, I thought, it's not anything I'm used to at all. I'm not I like the traditional musicals.
You're a jazz hands man.
I am. I'm a jazz.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Really, nothing wrong with that.
But So. When you do see the audiences, it's just so fun. That's what I love about it. It's still fun for us.
Yeah.
Good. You know what I mean? We still have that rush when you can see everyone enjoying it. You think, this is what it's about. This is what it's nice to see. Because at the end, we've had the other night when we sold out, it's just incredible. It was just a whole room of people, everyone beaming and doing the dances, and you think this is brilliant.
When we did a fundraiser in London Bridge, and it was good because we were doing it as an Edinburgh fundraiser, but we sold 125 tickets at £25 a ticket.
Must have helped.
To fans, to loads of fans, because they wanted to go and see it in the London Bridge venue.
That's the original venue when it moved over.
It's coming home.
Yeah, that's what we wanted it to be. We thought we'd do the whole process.
That night was absolutely amazing. It's much bigger than our Edinburgh venue and the one we played in Barnet, but it was just absolutely mental. Like, everyone on their feet at the end, everyone loving it. It was great fun. And in one of the numbers, people pull out a load of bubble wrap, and there was just mental amounts of bubble wrap going around the audience that people had bought themselves. We were like, where's all this coming from?
And it's joining in as well. There's apparently when it was in London, there's Rocky Horror Show, I believe it's got things that the audience all sort of know, cult wise, and they were saying lines and stuff that we were like, oh god, there's certain things that triggered it.
Better get it right then.
Yeah.
I had to say, because the business you mentioned about the people with the walking sticks and the older people, there was a quite an elderly couple behind me the night I came. I would say they were in their 70s. And there's some. It's not called Saucy Jack for nothing. There's it's a little bit near the knuckle on a couple of occasions.
We had a 6-year-old.
And they were laughing and laughing and laughing. And one of the women, she was banging her stick. I thought, hello, love. Having a good time, and she jolly well was.
Yeah, we had a 6-year-old boy come the other day.
A 6-year-old boy?
Yeah,
the other end of a scale.
Oh yeah, when that's bad when they come
with
in
kids, it goes. We just have to remember it goes straight over their heads.
Yeah.
There's no swear. Well,
no,
there's not. He says bitch, but that's in the watershed. Anyway, you can say that on EastEnders.
It's more double entendre, isn't it? It's not single entendre.
It just goes straight over their head.
Actually, it's a bit like a pantomime. I don't mean that in the derogatory sense, as some people use it. I mean it in a positive sense, in the sense that you can have everyone laughing, but at different times.
Yeah.
We get that's another thing. People start hissing. It does turn into a pantomime.
Well, it was booze.
Yeah.
At one stage, Saucy Jack came on at the end and said, "It's not a pantomime."
Yeah.
To which I believe the rejoinder was, "That's what you think."
Yeah. No, it is good when the audience really, when they get it, when they get involved and they like it. It's nice for us as well. So sometimes when you're playing to a hard audience, it's a bit draining, but we get through it. It's still fun.
Last night was a perfect example. It was tough when we walked out, but we just had everyone going, and that's what I don't know. It's just so much fun to do that.
Well, you're very good because you actually come out into the audience outside who are queuing and you try and get people ready. And because you explain the conceit to a degree. You say, look, there's a bar in the auditorium.
Yeah.
Come up to the bar at any time during the show because you, Mitch, you're the barman. So actually people do buy drinks off you.
Yeah,
it's not an auditorium. It is the
bar.
It's a bar.
It's when we did our Barnet run, we were able to do it properly in the sense of how I would love to have been able to do it in Edinburgh. There was literally but from 7 till 8 we had cabaret, but people could just come in whenever they want between 7 and 8, buy drinks, sit at their table, get comfy, and Sammy Sachs and Booby would just be milling around, just chatting to people, making sure everyone's happy, making
creating
sure everyone's
the ambience.
got drink. So they completely get into that vibe, it is Saucy Jacks, and then just out of the blue, one of the cabaret acts goes off and gets killed, and that's and that's where the show. The script starts, not so much the show, and then
everyone's a Christian.
And then the same for at the end. There's no bows as such. The last song finishes and it goes straight into a disco, like it never happened.
Well, it does, yes, because Mamma Mia comes on and some people didn't know.
Yeah, it does,
including me. I didn't. I thought, what's going on? There can't be another act.
Yeah. No, that's it. I think it's nice not to have we don't need bows. We don't need to end the show. I much prefer people to just stay standing, stay dancing, and
sort of fades out. It's a good time, doesn't it?
And then we just kind of go off and get changed and come back out and start partying again.
Which brings us on to the costumes in your cast. Once again, I'm going to get onto this. When you say get changed, there's not that much for you to get changed because Mitch, your character doesn't end up wearing a great deal by the end.
No.
And you're not alone either.
No, but it is tricky to get off. It gets very sweaty in plastic.
Yes, it's non-biodegradable. Forgive me, I have to say, the chap who plays the Doctor...
George Griffin. George Griffin, sorry.
Now, I'm going to ask a rude question. He is padded downstairs, isn't he?
No, he's not. That is all man. It's padded.
It's a huge sock. In which case, I feel very nervous. Best to avoid the front row, I think, under those circumstances. Tell me about your cast.
Well,
a lot of them we know.
Mix of
yeah.
people though. We when we were auditioning, we didn't want to go too far outside people that we knew because it's one of those shows that if you're working with people that you've never met before, it becomes really awkward, and we didn't have time. Like, by the time we finished casting it and started rehearsals, it was November, and our first shows were set for, well, at that time we were going to start in January, so we literally had a month over Christmas to rehearse and get to know each other to do this show.
And are you all professional actors?
Aspiring. A lot of us are aspiring. Yeah, but like,
certain people, it's like their first major show they've done.
Really, like Wyckoff and George Griffin and Jubilee, Catherine Connie Bive. They go to my school. Well, used to go to school. I left. And I just thought, well, with George, he's like a really good friend of mine. I thought, he's so funny. He's just such a funny guy. So I thought, would you do it? And I never thought for a minute he'd say yes, because he has to take his clothes off.
Yeah. He wears a pair of rubber shorts. And Argyle socks. Yes,
yeah.
Quite right. I think the official term, as you quite rightly say, is hot pants.
They're PVC hot pants,
But yeah, and then when he started doing rehearsals, we were just like, this is fantastic, it's so fun. And Catherine as well. I just knew her from school. Jubilee. She, I knew her from doing music with her, and she's just she had a good voice. And I thought, well, she's got an amazing image. Well, would you do it? Like,
they're very striking, your Vixens.
Oh yeah, they're
all
beautiful.
Three of them.
Yeah,
come
she's
on,
beautiful.
and you feel like they're a choreographed phalanx of ladies.
Yeah. But yeah,
if I can say that.
So yeah, Catherine and George, Nick knew from school. Like me and Nick, and then Casper, who plays Booby, the cocktail waitress, and
now let me just say, I thought that performance was brilliant. Not American.
No.
You see, I actually thought
North London.
You see, I thought he was a genuine American. His accent was, for me, my untrained ear, I thought, oh, that's not a put-on accent. That's an American.
Yeah, his sister Sophie is the blonde space vixen. Their brother and sister. Yeah.
It's good to know they're using the same wardrobe.
Yeah.
Because Booby obviously dresses as a woman in the show.
And then
kind of burlesque sort of corsage.
Yeah. And then Karen Darlow, who's the other space vixen, we all knew each other from our Saturday school, but we're much closer friends outside of Saturday school from it, basically.
Local theatre school.
And then Lily, who is Chesty, used to go do shows with us when we were about...
Yeah, when we were like 11. We did a show then years ago,
Haven't really spoken to her since.
So how old are you now, by the way, just for the record?
I'm 18.
I'm 19.
Gadzooks, men.
No, I'm 18. I think the oldest is Jack.
Jack.
Who's 26.
Jack is 26. He's quite old.
Over the hill.
But
he also needs to be a bit grizzled anyway, so, just a comparative age. Forgive me, it makes it all the more astounding, if you don't mind me saying. I know that sounds horribly patronising, but it's pretty fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
It's a good achievement. But yeah, Lily was in Hairspray, the school musical thing on Sky One. So, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh, she used to go to our Saturday school with us, and I added her on Facebook, and then
you stalked and gathered.
Yes, I did, but she remembered me, and then we were doing the auditions for the show. I was like, oh, you see, you're still singing and stuff. Did you want to come and audition? She was like, yeah, I'd love to.
I think what's so good is that everyone is getting so much better all the time. Like, we can see the huge development. Like with George he's never done anything before, and I think he's hysterical. He's so good in the show. Like, they're all really just you wouldn't think that I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just really proud of everyone. See how much it's grown.
Risen to the mark.
And it's a genuinely
and beyond.
nice cast. Sometimes you get casts like, oh, you don't like them.
Divas.
But this is like, mostly because we're all friends and stuff, and we're doing it for fun and the experience. We're not doing it for money or anything like that.
For the crack, as they say.
We're doing it just because
I don't know if that's the right term under the circumstances, but... we just wanted to come and have fun, and like there's so much competition here, but it's nice to not feel that competition, that threat, because it's been written, so there's no real awards we can go for, and it's a later show, so we can't really go for the 7 o'clock audiences. So it's just... I think it's perfectly timed, because actually it was the perfect end to my day.
Yeah.
And I'd been completely wowed over by the show that was on before you, which was the Wild Party, which was a cracking show as well. Yeah. very, very different. Then.
Yeah.
It's a high, it's a highbrow.
I didn't really know too much about the Wild Party, but I went to see it, and I thought it was going to be quite similar to ours, but it's from the blurb, it seems like it's going to be almost the same show, but you don't see it there. It's like
chalk and cheese,
completely different,
or cheese and wine party. Perhaps, but it's a totally different thing. And then I went into you not knowing what I was going to get, and I thought, this is even. I'm not going to say even better. It was as good in a totally different way, and I had a marvellous time. And both shows are just stunning and 4-star in my view. So
thank you very much. When we did it at London Bridge, they offered us. They were interested in maybe doing a sort of.
Like having a Saucy Jack's night every month or something.
So you might have a sort of standing possibility.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, we're just going to see who's doing what in the cast because everyone's going off and doing stuff.
The offer still stands. It's more whether people go to uni and whether we still want to do it after doing 26 shows.
Yeah, but if you sell 125 tickets at 25 quid a pop,
yeah.
There are other incentives. Successful theatre isn't that common.
No, but it would be nice to. If we don't, we'll definitely start.
Especially our age, the Expel experience. If we have like a residency in a venue,
a residency,
But it's been good fun. And
do you have a website?
Yes, it's www.unluckytheatre.co.uk.
We're called Unlucky Theatre because we bought the show's rights on Friday the 13th. And we didn't have a name. When they said, what's your name of your theatre company when we signed it, we're like...
And it is Friday the 13th.
I was going to say, what parallels are you looking for? Because today's the bookend of that, isn't it?
It was Friday the 13th of...
No, did you... The theatre's burnt down, haven't you heard? I hope that doesn't
No, this is... Friday the 13th is the best day for the Unlucky Theatre Company.
Yeah, of course it is,
It's our founding day. It's going to be...
Lots of good family members coming up tonight as well, and...
Yeah. We'll be cracking, and it's Friday night. You'll get a lot more walk up tonight as well.
We've got a 21st birthday in tonight.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah, they've heard this a bit of a party. It was a massive party, so they're coming to party with us.
Something for the compare to mention as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How marvellous! Well, thank you so much. It's been great speaking to you. It is a 4-star show. It's exuberant. It's marvellous. I loved it. I genuinely loved it. And I tell you, I can't tell you how thankful I am to you because I think you've opened my eyes and mind to a musical and a kind of musical that I wouldn't normally have sort of willingly gone to. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All power to your elbow. And I look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Cool.
You're listening to Musical Talk at the Edinburgh Fringe. Well, Saucy Jack and the Space Vixens won me over completely. Go to their website, www.unluckytheatre, we're spelling theatre the French and therefore the British way there, that's TRE at the end, .co.uk. Saucy Jack and the Space Vixens, and I have to say that it's just a beautiful romp. In fact, it's a Rocky Horror style romp, and it completely and surprisingly won me over entirely. Good performances and great fun. I can't ask for any more than that. 4 stars. Which leads me on to a musical which I mentioned in passing last week. It's Wonderland by Giles Brandreth and the lovely Susanna Pierce. And bizarrely, it's an episode in the later life of Lewis Carroll, really the Reverend Charles Dodgson, who wrote Alice in Wonderland. And it's about a meeting between him and an actress, Miss Isa Bowman, who had played Alice on stage earlier on, but was befriended by Carroll later in his life. It proved to be an incredible elegiac musical. In fact, an elegiac masterpiece. A sort of bittersweet later life episode in the life of Lewis Carroll with a haunting score and an entrancing book. I thought it was a complete delight, and I would go so far as to say that it was a 5-star show. A wonderful, wonderful piece. I have no idea if it's going to go any further, but if you want to find out about it, go to www.gilesbrandreth, GYLESBRANDRETH.net. And he tells a little bit of the story, because it's based, at least in part, on a true story. And that only makes the story even more surprising and even more touching. And in short, it's about a man reliving the joys of his youth by hiring an actress to play the one true character that he loved in his life. Or so you might argue. The songs are wonderful, and at the beginning, and indeed at the end, there is a beautiful waltz written by Susanna Pierce. A beautiful, beautiful piece. As I say, 5 stars. And it's my lucky day, or certainly the day I went to see Wonderland was my lucky day, because I followed it immediately by going to see Hamlet the musical, which was also a 5-star show. And as I tweeted at the time, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter at MusicalTalkThos, I wrote a rollicking, brackets yorricking, barnstorming, hilarious 1-hour version of Hamlet, brio aplenty, and a cracking score. If you're looking for a show that's full of enthusiasm and excitement, well, you're not going to get better than this. Surprisingly for Hamlet, it was a laugh-filled version of the story, and yet somehow managed to remain true to the original. Let's hear an interview with the producer.
I'm Eleanor Lloyd. I'm the producer of Hamlet the Musical.
Now, Hamlet the Musical is an absolutely stonking, exuberant, vivacious show. How did it come to be?
It first came to be in October 2000 when I was a student and I met 2 very talented writers at university.
Which one?
Called Alex Silverman and Ed Jaspers.
At which university?
At Cambridge University. And they sat down one night after several gin and tonics and wrote what they thought would be the most inappropriate song ever, which was a barnstorming rock version of To Be or Not To Be speech. And from there we thought this maybe had potential, so they've developed it into a show, and we did 4 nights at a late night slot at the university, and everybody got quite excited. And then 6 months later we did it again, another 4 late night slots, having reworked it, and everyone got more excited. And then that's...
Is this still at the beginning of the decade? Or?
Yeah, this is still 2001, and then summer 2001 we came to Edinburgh, and we did it at Sea Venues, in a downstairs theatre at Sea Venues. And everybody went completely crazy, and it totally sold out, and it made me think, oh, maybe I'd like to be a theatre producer, but I was only 20 and they were only 20, and
well,
so
if you don't do it then you never will.
No. And people were thrusting their cards at me saying, give me a call, and I'm not from London, I didn't know anything about, I'd never been to Shaftesbury Avenue, I'd never seen a musical in my life, I didn't know what to do. A woman from Taiwan saw the show and said she'd love us to tour it to Taiwan, and I said, seriously? And she said yes, and so we went to Taiwan for 2 weeks in 2002. And at that point we all went off and got jobs. I went off to work at the Royal Court Theatre.
Real life kicked in,
and Ed and Alex went and got jobs writing music, but trying to earn their way, and that's what we've been doing for 9 years. And now I do quite a lot of work in the West End. Alex writes for the Globe and for the Gate and for lots of people. Ed's a literary agent. We've got another writer called Tim Natman on board, who's writes lyrics and a children's book author. And it felt that 2010 was the time to give it a full professional production with West End actors, costumes, sets, all the things that we never really had first time round.
And it pays off in spades, if I may say. The first thing, it's got a cracking opening number, which is the Danish Blues.
The Danish Blues. That hasn't changed very much, actually, since 2001. That one's pretty much stuck.
Well, it's a very perfect, listen to me, it's an excellent and perfect, that's much better, opener, because it lets people know the tone. I mean, it sets the tone right at the beginning. It says, you're going to get the proper Shakespeare here, but, in story terms, but you're going to have a bit of a jolly time along the way. And the songs are very catchy. They're sort of like jazz, I would say, in tone.
I would say they're contemporary. They range in style. There's some jazz in there. There's some definitely Cole Porter-inspired moments. There's a tango.
Yes, there
Bon
is.
Jovi is not absent from it, certainly at moments.
But it swings quite a lot.
It,
as a score alone, if you took the play away, the score would still be very entertaining.
Yes, and as Alex is a very intelligent composer and also arranger, so he's arranged it for keyboard, double bass, percussion, including a timpani, which cost me a fortune, piano, saxophone, clarinet, a violin, and a French horn, which is a really unusual score.
But it fills the space.
Yeah, it feels rich and intelligent. We wanted it to feel like a proper show.
And it is, and in many ways, there are shows which take their source material and then send it up or rip it to pieces. But whilst this has fun, it's absolutely true to the book, isn't it? The story, with one exception at the end when the herring come out.
Yes, with the fish fight at the end is a slight liberty. But I
like the word "slight" there. Thank you.
The
speech marks the size of Europe.
Yeah. What I've quite enjoyed about it is that the more people know Shakespeare or know the play, and the more they get. And even I still I read a thing recently about the fact that the phrase "cruel to be kind" is in Hamlet, and to be totally honest, I hadn't realised that lyric in the show is a direct lift from the Shakespeare. So the more you know, the more you realise that all the different things that are woven into it.
It works at every level, doesn't it?
It does. It's a bit. I mean, this is a bit of a bold statement really, but it's not unlike Shakespeare in Love in that sense, that it's a straightforward story. You can enjoy it just as a straightforward love story film, period film, but actually, if you know your Shakespeare, you get every reference to every play because Stoppard's a genius.
So, bearing in mind it's got history and you have history with it, when you decided to bring it to Edinburgh this time, did you set any sort of parameters that you wanted it to be done in? What was your vision for Edinburgh this time?
My vision for Edinburgh this time was to make a show that didn't feel studenty, that felt that it was something that could be seen on the playhouse stages of the UK. It could be, we could see it at the Guildford in Von Arno, or we could go. It
does feel ready to plop anywhere. Actually.
Yeah, it felt like a proper show.
It's not a show in work.
No. It feels like a kind of. There's still little bits to do, but it feels basically like a finished product. And to do that, I got a brilliant director called Ryan McBride on board, who was Stephen Daldry's associate on Billy Elliot and on Bat Boy. And he's just. I
had a friend in Bat Boy.
He's a very, very good director. He's early 30s. And he approached it with a whole different eye, really, and he hadn't been involved before. So for him, it was a script on a page. What are you going to do with this? So a lot of the ideas in the show, the puppets, the screens, a lot of that playfulness has all come from him, which has added a whole layer of proper production, really.
Well, I was actually going to ask that very question. How has his vision changed from the original production? I mean, as you say, it's some of the I don't want to say gimmick, but it's some of the
it's the little treats that you get as an audience.
What a beautiful way, but because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are
those
fantastic,
they're real treats.
Real human head puppets.
Yeah, the
human
phrase apparently is called a humanette, is what they're called.
Yeah, fantastic. And they are cracking. They sort of live in a cupboard because obviously they have to, but they come out and they're they're so squeaky and lovable.
Exactly. And that was Ryan's idea. It was the writer's idea to have puppets in some form, which is a kind of Avenue Q reference, and also just to do something a bit different for those characters. Because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern were never in it before this production. They are entirely new. They weren't in it in 2001.
Well, their profile has been increased in the last few years.
Yes,
Yes,
they're up there. So Ryan thought about it, and he thought about how are we going to do singing with the puppets, and he came up with that idea, and it's just brilliant.
It is, and it's hilarious, and yet. I think their story is very sad because thanks to Thomas Stoppard, everybody, even if you haven't seen the original Hamlet, most people know what happens to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern now.
Exactly. But I would say what Ryan's done really is lift it from something that was a bit more like a kind of sketch review. Yeah. The very first version felt a bit like a cabaret show, really. It was a series of 8-9 songs that barely hung together. Ophelia and Hamlet never appeared on stage together. Originally Laertes and Polonius were played by the same actor, which meant that they could never appear on stage together.
Like father, like son.
Yeah. So what Ryan's done really is embellish it into a proper stage show.
Made it less jokey, but made it more joke-filled and fun.
Perhaps, made the jokes happen not just in terms of lyrics, but in terms of staging. And he's worked with two brilliant costume and set designers to make all those elements have comedy in them.
Now your cast is phenomenal.
Yeah,
to me.
really lucky.
They get their teeth into it, if I may say.
They work incredibly hard. We work really hard to find them. Casting for Edinburgh is not easy. We worked and worked and worked. We saw lots and lots of people, and trying to find people who have the voices and also the comic timing, because you need both in spades. Absolutely. And they've just been an absolute delight.
By the way, I just have to compliment you on your website.
Good, which I built myself.
Well, there's the film of it's the actor playing Hamlet himself.
Yes,
keepy uppy with a skull, with Yorick's skull.
Yeah, that was in the early days of rehearsal.
Difficulty, I would have said.
Yeah, it was really hard actually. It was a rubber skull as well.
Yeah.
It was quite difficult. But no, I
was hoping, frankly.
It was rubber.
Yeah. You don't use the method.
No. Although our Polonius actor is not very well at the moment, so his death scene is slightly method at the moment. But
is it?
Yeah. It was last night anyway. But no, we're really lucky to have them. They've all done loads of West End shows. They're all really experienced. Although Jack, our Hamlet, is the biggest thing he's done, and we're so lucky to have found him. He walked into the audition and we just knew straight away. And our composer wasn't in the first audition, so we all thought, we found him. Then we had to get him back, and we nervously sat and waited for the composer to watch him, and then he said, brilliant. It's just a ginger Essex Hamlet. It's perfect.
But he plays it to perfection, I may say. Absolutely. I mean, he is the central character around which all other things revolve in
He's the only actor who doesn't play any other roles, and he has to deliver it absolutely seriously. He has to do it absolutely true. otherwise it doesn't work. And he says he finds it really difficult because everyone else is looning around him, and he's just got to play absolutely straight.
And of course, Hamlet is a very straight part anyway, in whichever version.
Yeah.
You know, it ain't a happy play, is it?
No, it's not a happy play. Although in our version, you definitely get more jokes than the original, and it takes about a quarter of the time.
Well,
Yeah,
if I may be so. In no way wishing to diss the bard.
of course not.
So let's have. What were the difficulties of, because the building and the striking of the set had to be done in literally minutes.
Yeah,
don't
8
they?
minutes each
Yeah,
way.
that's pretty smart. If I may
Which is
say. Does that present any problem? I mean, just the logistics of Edinburgh cause you trouble.
Yeah, it's a very hard place to put on a show, not least a musical, because there's just no time. I mean, we had
pianos being rolled across the empty stage afterwards for the next show.
Yeah, so we've got the show before is a Spring Awakening with the RSAMD production. 26 actors, 18-year-olds with radio mics. They finish their show and we have to start 20 minutes later, and they have to truck
after Spring
out.
Awakening, you probably have to clean up the stage as
Yes,
well.
yeah, lots of clean up the stage, and it's really hot, and they have their band truck all trucks out, and our band trucks in.
And of course, you have the techs in the middle, don't you, as well, who have to clear.
Yes.
So there's a gap. There's an enforced gap while everything is made safe. And because I heard them yesterday, I heard them say clear for the people to come in off.
Exactly.
They were waiting there with their costumes on a
ready
rail,
to
waiting
go.
to roll in.
But Pleasance is the place to do those kind of shows because their tech teams are absolutely brilliant.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're so committed. I mean, they just work incredibly hard. But I mean, the difficulty is that in terms of time in the space before your opening show, and we got more time than most because I begged and begged. But we probably had a producer's role. We probably had, I would say, 18 hours in the space before a show. Now, I know that probably doesn't sound that short, but on a musical scale, if you're putting a musical on in the West End, you'd have, I know that Love Never Dies had 4 months.
Yes.
So, it's it takes, if you think about the sound and the lighting you can't do before you get into the space, the actors have got to learn how to do everything. The set arrives and they've got to work it out. That's the first time they had the fish and the boat, and they would,
And the sets are on wheels, aren't they? I mean, it's a very clever use of, it appears to be flats on wheels.
Yeah,
which
it basically is.
As well.
Yeah.
But they roll across to actually genuinely create quite a different set of, you feel that you're moving around the castle. And
Ryan the director was very clear that he wanted it to feel like it was location specific, and how to do that on an Edinburgh stage without very much time. We could do with some wings, to be honest, but we'll get those in the West End, that's fine.
And its website?
Is hamletthemusical.com.
Splendid. And finally, 2 questions in the finally part. Is it going on anywhere?
We don't know yet. We've had lots of interest with lots of producers in. So I hope we're thinking about doing a little West End appearance in September, which I'm about to try and firm up. So all the details will be on the website.
Splendid. And finally, the music.
Yeah.
I gather you may be trying to record an album, is
Yes,
that right?
we're going to try and record an album. We were supposed to do it this week, but Edinburgh has somewhat got in the way.
There's never a time in Edinburgh.
There
It's
is
the one
never
commodity
a
not
time.
available.
I know, it's so frustrating. We'll either do it in the last week up in Edinburgh, or we'll do it as soon as we get back to London, and then it will be on sale through the website and through iTunes.
Splendid. Well, I wish you every success.
Thank you very much.
It's a cracking show. It's a 5-star show.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely filled with exuberance. I was delighted by it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Hamlet, as I say, a 5-star musical. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. Really, another romp, or a yomp, depending on how you want to describe it, but it was a delight with a very good score and some very accomplished comic players. Go and see the website, www.elproductions.co.uk. And my praise goes to Alex Silverman, Timothy Knapman and Ed Jaspers for making this a truly marvellous piece. Next, the invective Dan Kamikaze. Now, what did I tweet about this? Well, it was a whimsical, fairly random musical about a would-be superhero. It had a very appealing hero, but avoided substance. But that's not to criticise it in any way. It had almost no production values, and it was actually performed in a tea shop rather than in a theatre. But that sort of added to the charm, really. The central character, called Orville Williams, played a bit of a down-and-out who lived with a professor who encouraged him to come to terms with himself and become a better person by adopting the guise of a superhero. He didn't actually have any powers. He merely wore a figure-hugging body stocking, shall we say, one of those lycra superhero suits in turquoise with pink underpants on the outside in traditional mould. And if you're a fan of a beautiful and attractive man, then this would have had additional pleasures because the young actor playing Dan Kamikaze was very easy on the eye. And I have to tell you, a good-looking man in a lycra costume probably goes down tremendously well in certain circumstances. But surprisingly, the best song was sung by a robot parrot. Let's hear that song called Don't Call Me Bird Brain from the invective Dan Kamikaze.
2, 3, 4. You may say I'm a robot and deny I'm a parrot. Call me imitation, but I'm 22 carat. I'm extremely discerning. I know Bordeaux from claret. Don't call me bird brain, 'cause you won't find a bird with a brain like mine. Don't call me bird brain. This bird has a brain that's uncommonly fine. Oh, I've read Greek philosophy. I only like maths that's pure. I have the Renaissance taped, and I'm fond of literature. I know all about science. I'm a learned bird for sure. Don't call me bird brain, 'cause you won't find a bird with a brain like mine. Don't call me bird brain. This bird has a brain that's uncommonly fine. Oh, you may say I'm a robot and deny I'm a parrot. Call me imitation, but I'm 22 carat. I'm extremely discerning. I know Bordeaux from claret. Whoa!
And that was Don't Call Me Bird Brain, sung by Clinky the Robot Parrot, performed by Keith Beattie, who wrote the show. A whimsical pleasure. Well, what now? Next. Well, this brings me to my last day in Edinburgh, I'm sad to say. And I very nearly finished it the way I started it, with, well, my pick of the Edinburgh Fringe. It's the show I started with 3 episodes ago, In Touch the Musical by Dougal Irvin. I had so enjoyed it when I went to see it again, and it was still excellent, and I still want to see the second act, and I still hope it's going to go somewhere, and I hope that when it does, and it surely must, that you'll come and see it too. In Touch the Musical, keep an eye out for that. But that wasn't my last show of the Fringe for me. The very last show I went to see was by my good friend Charles Strouse. You may well remember that I interviewed him a year or so ago on his 80th birthday, and he's the writer of Annie, Bye Bye Birdie, and the marvellous musical Applause, which opened in 1970 in America and featured Lauren Bacall, and delightfully she came over to London to do it immediately afterwards. Well, what did I think of it? It was an American youth production as part of the American High School Musicals Festival, which successfully embraced adult themes. It's a musicalised version of All About Eve, and in this, Eve really does sleep her way to the top. She's a conniving little cow, I have to say. That's the character, not the actress. And the production, well, no punches were pulled. They sidled right up to the material and they worked it hard. There was no pulling back from the sexual elements of the plot, and indeed the adult elements of the plot which weren't sexual. It was impressive and nicely tuneful. And it was put on by the Caddo Magnet Players, who I believe come from Shreveport in Louisiana. Now, I had the pleasure of talking just conversationally, I'm afraid, not on the record, with Patty Reeves, who was the director and also the departmental head of the arts section at the school. And as I said to her at the time, the show was both marvellous in its ambition and successful in its production. It was highly enjoyable. Now, because it's a Charles Strouse score, you know you're going to get really good songs, and indeed that's precisely what we got. But it's an interesting sort of minuet between 8 characters, which Eve, she's the conniving one who's desperate to use her connections with Margot Channing, the Lauren Bacall character, to her own theatrical advantage, and she successfully does so. But she doesn't hurt herself by sleeping with lots of important people on the way, right up to and through the producer, right on to the playwright, who then takes the successful show that Margot Channing has been appearing in and writes a sequel to it, but not for Margot. but for Eve. The choreography was excellent, and you have to remember it's a 1970s show, and half of it takes place in a gay bar. Now, I was very impressed by Tori Smith as Margot Channing, also Jonathan Webber as Bud Richards, but I think the show was absolutely stolen by Terry Tucker, who played Dwayne, who's Margot's gay dresser. And once again, there was no suggestion that he wasn't gay. That was a full-on, fully-fledged performance, beautifully realised. And whilst we're on the subject, I'd also just like to say hello to Carlia Day. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. She played Debbie, and her mother, Elizabeth, has written to me. So hello to you both. And yes, it was an excellent show. And one final anecdote, which just makes it all the more surprising, was that Eric Coleman, who was the musical director, who was on the piano, played the whole score without sheet music. And I have to tell you, that's a very impressive piece of performance. So, a good show all round. That's applause. And if you want to find out more, go to www.magnetplayers.com. Musical talk. Now, whilst that rounds off my experiences in Edinburgh, that's not the end of the interviews. Because when I wasn't dutifully watching shows for Musical Talk, I was dutifully sloping up and down the Royal Mile, interviewing people who were putting on musicals which I couldn't get to see. So let's hear from a few of those shows.
Okay, so my name is Fiona Tierlink. I'm the writer and producer of this show, and the composer as well. The show is called Ashes. It's about a woman in the 50s in Scotland who's suppressed by her husband. He cheats on her all the time. She's got a homosexual brother, which obviously didn't really work in the 1950s as well, and she's really fighting for what she believes in, and she steps up for her right as a feminist.
Right, splendid. So when did you first get the idea for this?
It's about 10 months ago that we started writing the musical, my director Alice Kornitzer and myself. And it was an idea that basically came from me because I had a friend and her boyfriend was cheating on her all the time. So it's actually a real life story.
But transposed to the 50s, which is interesting.
Yeah,
Does that just make the context slightly more
logical because she didn't want to leave her boyfriend. And obviously nowadays if someone would cheat on his or her wife, then someone would just leave.
Go on, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, you just go on with your life. And in the 50s, that wasn't possible because there was really nowhere for you to go once you'd actually left. So
have you written before?
Yes, I've done a musical at the Fringe last year as well. That was called The Repercussion.
Oh, splendid! Right,
Yeah.
okay. So old hand at this exactly. How would you describe your music, which we can hear very faintly in the background, I suspect, over the thrum of the crowds?
I would describe it as 50s blues jazz-ish. Something.
I think the ish helps there, you
That
contextualises the whole thing,
yes.
doesn't it? Absolutely splendid. Now tell me, so obviously the audience haven't seen it yet, but how are the cast finding it?
The cast are finding it great. We've had our technical rehearsal this morning at 6 a.m, which wasn't the greatest time in the world.
6
but,
a.m?
Yes, it was kind of awful.
You are brave.
But the tech one went absolutely fantastic, and we're all enjoying it. We're all Queen Margaret University drama students. So it's just a fantastic experience, and it's a lot of experimenting as well, so it's absolutely great.
Now, I can see some of your cast here performing on the Golden Mile as a kind of sort of preview platform, if you like.
Yes.
And they're dressed in black and wearing face masks, I noticed.
Yes.
Is this symbolic?
Well, it's not really symbolic, but they are dressed up as the Ashes, which the play is about, which represent the memories and all the things that have happened to the lead character.
Remembrance of things past.
Memories of past things. Yeah, she lost her parents in a fire.
Ah, so double resonance, I see.
Yes.
Fine.
So it's really a sad story with a happy ending, but they're always there to represent that memories never leave, really.
In exploring the characters as you wrote them, what surprised you? What came out?
Well, once we actually started directing it surprised me that the characters became a lot more alive than what they actually were when they were on paper for the first time.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And presumably then, that's the actors giving them that sort of extra flesh and blood.
It's the actors and the director mainly as well. She did a very fantastic job in making everything real. And it's just, the interesting thing is, as it's set in the 50s, but it's just a scene that we could see nowadays as well. It's very realistic. And yeah, it's very interesting to see as well, because you have to live with your past, you have to live with everything, and you have to move on, and that's what this story is about.
Indeed, there's a song called "You Can't Forget Your Past," which
Definitely.
is a great chansonnière kind of song. But,
yeah.
I wish you every success.
Yeah, thank you very
thank
much.
you so much for talking to us here at
No
Musical
problem
Talk.
at all. Thank you.
Oh, one final question: do you have a website?
Yes, we do have a website. That's www.playmouseproductions.com.
Give me that again.
www.playmouse.
Playmouse.
Yes,
Right,
productions.com.
Splendid. Thank you. I'm sure everyone can go along and see there.
Absolutely, you can find everything on that.
Musical talk.
I'm Alison and I'm the production manager.
I'm James, I'm the musical director.
Oh, splendid. I do feel I've got two of the very top people in this production. And this is Dick's letter. Oh, how amusing. I can't even say it.
Irony, yeah.
Oh, yes, one for the outtakes, possibly. Dyslexia, the musical.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, the idea, it's a new musical.
Yep.
How did it come to be?
Myself and the director, we wanted to put a theatre company together because we were quite aware we were leaving the bubble of uni and just wanted a sort of like a way in, basically. So we thought, right, we'll do it.
Which university was it?
Hull University. So it's a combined sort of music and drama. There's people from both departments in there. We were going to take something different, but funding didn't work out, and then we were like, right, we'll write our own. Came up with...
let's put on a show.
Yeah.
I believe it's been done.
We were... so it was Joel that came up with the idea of Dyslexia the musical.
He's the director and writer.
Yeah, he's the director and wrote the script, and Mark Henderson, our choreographer, wrote all the lyrics. So they came up with the idea and the plot line, developed a script. We got the lyrics, James wrote all the music for it. We take existing songs and you rearranged everything.
So, like, to fit in a musical style, so like you've taken songs like Amy Winehouse and Rihanna and you've put them in a very sort of a musical theatre sort of orchestration, and then you...
and how does that work then? Because I mean, this is a jukebox jury then? Jukebox musical kind of thing?
Yeah.
This is interesting, go on. With new lyrics?
Yeah, the new lyrics.
Brand new
So
lyrics.
Mark sort of provided me... I knew the songs, but deliberately didn't listen to them, and then Mark sort of gave me the lyrics and was like, right, what can we do with these? And we sort of like, there's stuff from The Lion King in there, there's everything, Wicked.
In terms of orchestration?
No, we
from
sort
the
of
score?
totally I've just took the songs and then just sort of we've got 3 keyboards and guitar, bass and drums, so it's totally redone, so they sound very different as songs, which is quite cool.
And in a thumbnail sketch, what's the plot?
Basically we have our Adam and Eva are our 2 dyslexics, and they have found what they think is a new cure to dyslexia. They go to the Blurb Regeneration Centre for curing dyslexia, which is run by Adrian Blurb, who is just a bit of a tyrant really, and is just there to make money. He's a business tycoon. So they go there, and to overcome their dyslexia they've got to win a spelling bee against Adrian Blurb. There's another character, Jess Tuppid, who's Adrian's niece, who doesn't recognise who he stole all of her money. She tries to get it back.
Good Victorian melodrama, I'm getting.
Yes, and then
Tongue firmly in cheek.
it's just tongue in cheek. Basically, meet a guy called the Big JD, who's a grammar guru. He teaches them all about spelling and grammar, and then it all culminates in the big spelling bee, where Adam has to beat Mr. Blurb to win.
And has it been going down?
Very well.
Yeah,
Which is
surprising.
great.
Yeah, it was quite surprising because we knew we were coming up to the Fringe. We knew it was a new show, and we kind of thought, oh well, if we get like 20 people in, that's brilliant. But we've
Happy
been
days.
selling out. So
Really?
yeah,
that is good.
Yeah, we sold out on our second night,
night.
and we just couldn't believe it because it seats 100 as well, which we were like.
It's getting to the stage where I'm waiting to kick off the overture, and there's just people coming
Just
in,
people coming in,
and it's
coming
just
Oh,
like...
you're being delayed by the audience.
Yeah, it's
Marvellous.
madness.
So opposite of the usual way here.
Yes, I know,
definitely.
Which is...
As well, people have been like, they're laughing at it. It's quite nice because we get a mix of people coming, so we get
Different
quite
groups.
younger audiences as well, and so it's nice that you get different laughs at different points where like some people will laugh at one joke, like the kids will laugh at the very kind of obvious humour in it,
and the subtler humour the adults seem to
and
enjoy.
some stuff that just goes right over the kids' head.
Like a pantomime in its truest
Yeah,
sense,
it's-
but it works at different levels and everyone laughs, but not at the same time.
It's
Yeah,
quite
definitely.
pantomime, to be fair. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure we
Nothing wrong
started
with
out
that.
with that idea, but it was sort of...
Yeah, we didn't
It just
mean
works.
it to be a
It's just
pantomime, but it
without
just
Christmas, basically. It's
yeah, it's kind of just a bit of fun, really. All in all,
It's
not
really,
really
sort of,
serious.
no, don't read anything into it, but it's
Yeah.
like,
So what have you two got out of it, if you don't mind me saying? Just what's the thing you'll walk away from when this musical's over? Or walk away with, rather than walk away from.
For me personally, like, as being the production manager, I've got so much experience from, like, I've been to the Fringe before, but I've never had to run it and find the funding and find a venue and make sure that everything's...
nightmare.
Yeah, and having done that and being able to, like, say, oh, I've done a sellout show, and I've been able to, like, because our tech was we had a very long tech, which was really nice for the space to give us that. We didn't have time to even do the light, so on the first night I was like, fine, I'm gonna have to make this up. So it's just, I think that experience of having done it, I'll take a lot away from.
You're not alone in that, by the way. I was playing to quite a lot of shows this year who said we went straight from our, we had to miss out dress and we went straight from one to straight in first night.
It's quite a good experience though, because you sort of just get thrown in it in a nice. Well, you sort of realise after it was a good experience, not at the time.
Yeah, I think most people's first nights in Edinburgh are realistically the dress rehearsals.
On the hoof a little, aren't they?
Yeah, because it's the first time they will have done it in that space.
You just happened to do the dress in front of about 70 people, which was strange.
And what's the thing you'll take away from it?
I think I'm used to sort of doing more orchestral stuff and classical stuff, so it was quite cool to sort of be presented with three key, just having to orchestrate under the original musical we were going to do, and that was quite cool. Working with singers, just doing different style of music, which has just been nice. And it's
doors, really,
and it's just nice to see when the songs kick off. They're quite heavily disguised at first, so when people actually recognise them, it's quite nice sort of recognising that every night, which is cool. It's just been a very good experience.
Is there a penny drop moment with each song?
Yeah, chorus usually.
I think so. I think some of them you get straight away. I think some of the younger audience who are in the 20s, they'll get quite a lot of it straight away. But some of the songs that are from the musicals, that's when they if they haven't seen the musical, they won't recognise it. But there's a couple that are very well disguised. We
tried to disguise them until there's one very obvious one to do with dyslexia, and they really don't get it until the chorus, which is great because I really wanted to disguise it because it's quite an obvious song. And so when the two protagonists sing the chorus, it's quite nice. They sort of go and then laugh at the joke, which is
the punchline in.
Yeah.
Musically, I think that's fascinating. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much indeed. Best of luck, and I wish you every success.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Musical talk.
My name's Stuart Saint, and I'm appearing as Cassie and Casper in Jump the Musical, which is happening at the Queen Dome every day at 2:05.
Now, tell us a bit about Jump. I think we ought to say, because Musical Talk may know it under its previous name of Baggage,
right?
When it was on in Hampstead.
Yeah, well, since then, Jump's been workshopped and reworked and put together for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival into an hour and 15-minute show. It's still aesthetically about a gentleman on a ledge ready to jump because his life is in ruins, and we see the show in flashback of the events building up to this big event of him on the ledge of doom, as it's called.
Well, it's a unique selling point, really.
A musical about suicide. No, it's very, very funny show. It's a little bit politically incorrect. It's a little bit naughty and cheeky, but everything is very, very light-hearted. Obviously directed by Patrick Wilde. And assistant directed by Oliver Jack, who was one of the youngest producers on Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And obviously Patrick Wilde, with his portfolio of shows under his belt, it's been directed amazingly. Show's very, very slick, and I think we have one of the biggest sets at Edinburgh Fringe.
Really?
Yeah, it's very, very. We have a false floor. It's not a black. We're in a black box, but we have a huge set, and it is quite shocking how we managed to put it together. So you have to come and see it just for that. It is quite crazy.
It's all on the ledge.
Yes, yeah. Totally.
So tell me about the piece. How has it developed since it's? I mean, it's now called Jump.
Yes.
Let's get that playing,
yeah.
So people
I
know
know that there's been lots of workshops, and they've been reworking it. And obviously, it is a full 2.5 hour musical. But obviously here at Edinburgh,
everything's abridged, isn't it?
Yeah, so everything's been packed in. But it still feels like you do see a full show, and it's an ensemble cast of 6 of actor musicians. And everyone, I have to say, my fellow castmates, everyone is mega talented. And I'm not just saying that, everyone is extremely talented, and I feel really lucky to be working with them, and we've gelled together as an ensemble really, really well. So I think it really helps the piece as well.
Now you're playing the character who's we don't know if she's, do you think she's a transsexual, transvestite? Because Josh wouldn't ever commit.
I'm playing a character called Casper.
I ought to say for our listeners that you're playing the character that Josh Boyd Rochford once played before.
Right. Yeah.
But your one performance doesn't inform another, so I'm interested to know what your take is.
For me, I think I play the character Casper, and you see more of Casper, really, but Cassie does make an appearance. And to me, Cassie's more of an old 50s showgirl. Cassie loves all those old movies, like All About Eve and Mummy Dearest, very based on Bette Davis. And Cassie feels like a bit of an old movie star. So
a would-be diva.
Yeah, so it is a bit more drag queen, but very in tribute to Bette Davis, I think.
Now, forgive me, do you still have the song They Always Go Back to Their Husbands?
It's now a song called
wives,
They Never Leave Their Wives.
That's what I
and
meant,
I'm
sorry.
very, very lucky to sing that song on the
lovely
show.
song, that.
It's a big old torch song, and I've been really lucky. I've been out to the West End Glee Club and performed there. We're going to be appearing at the Bongo Club with the rest of the cast, and we'll be doing all sorts of stints around the whole Fringe.
So you're appearing in reviews across Edinburgh?
Yeah, to promote
so
the
see
show.
the show in bits or in one big place?
Yeah, definitely. But I'm really lucky I get to sing the torch song. I'm very, very lucky to have that song, and it's beautiful to sing. So yeah, great song.
So are you allowed to say how the show... Has the show changed in any of its major plot dynamics? I mean, you say it's been workshopped. Is that really to finesse it, or is it a new show? I mean, the new title suggests it's Son of Baggage.
Yeah,
you've
got to look at it as a brand new show, I think. Yeah, Baggage was great in its own right, but then they went away from that and thought, okay, how can we make this, improve this, develop this? Everything's always in development. Even when you bring shows to Edinburgh, it's in development, but everyone knows that. So, Jump is now, it's a brand new show, all in its own right, with elements from what you remember from Baggage.
What about The Runaway Train? Is that still in?
Yeah, Runaway Train.
See, I have to say, for me, that's the one song that really stayed with me all the time. I love the song that you sing, or your character sings. But for some reason, the melody of The Runaway Train, which is not the children's version, obviously, it's an allegory for life, isn't it? But it's just one of those tunes that went straight into my head, and I thought, I think I've known this.
Yeah, the songs
since before I was born.
For me, we've all been all the cast. We've all been waking up, and we still have the songs. This is after weeks of rehearsal. We still have the songs going around in our head. They are very, very catchy. And then that song is now called All Aboard, and it's very, very catchy. And we have a new opening number called Arty Farty Hell.
Oh right, go on, tell me.
Arty Farty. I won't spoil it.
No, but
it's part of the big opening number, and it's like the Runaway Train number. It is absolutely catchy, and it just stays with you in your head. And then quite a lot of the numbers in the show do that.
Splendid. Right, in one sentence, why should people see this show?
Because I wear a wig and heels in it.
Oh, splendid. Right, that's very good. All right.
It's just a lot of people have worked very, very hard on this show, and it's really entertaining. And like the Broadway Baby review that we've just had said, this musical doesn't change the world, but it's just entertaining. I think that's why you go to see a musical. That's why I go to see a musical. I want to laugh, I want to cry a bit, and just have a load of fun and come away smiling. And ever since we've been here in this first week, that's all people have been saying when they've been leaving. They've had a great time, and it's just really entertaining. And that's what shows are supposed to do.
Fun and frolics.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck for the rest of your run.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Jump. Now, as I walked down the Royal Mile another day, I was immediately struck by the fact that there were several actors holding up sticks, and on each stick was a letter, and the 4 letters spelled out the word Dick. Now, of course, when someone's waving the word Dick at you in big red letters in a crowd, you can't help but feel perhaps you need to talk to them, and indeed I did. The musical was called My Name is Richard, and I was first alerted to it when I spoke to Neil Somerville about putting it together, who was also acting as the musical director. Let's hear from Neil telling us a bit about My Name is Richard.
I'm Neil Somerville, and I am playing piano for a show called My Name is Richard.
Now, this is a new musical, written by 2 teachers, I think you said.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it. What's the central premise, first of all?
It's kind of loosely based on Richard III, I think, but instead of Richard III, the Shakespeare piece is Richard is being played by a teenage boy who suffers with autism.
Oh gosh.
And it's the sort of trials and tribulations he goes through, relationships with friends and teachers and bullies and parents and brothers, and he's got this girl he's infatuated with, that she's her boyfriend is his biggest bully, and the audience are finding it quite moving. There's a lot to take in. It's quite harsh. There's quite violence.
It goes with Richard III under all versions, I think.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting take. Funny enough, it must be Richard III's year this year, because there's another show up in Edinburgh which isn't a musical, which is investigating and observing his fall from the point of view of his servants.
Okay.
So it's the understairs version of the Richard III play, if you like. I don't think it's quite Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, but I think it is. It's an observation and a view of what's going on. That's very interesting. So tell me, when did you get yourself involved in that project?
I was a friend of mine had been approached by the composer Nicholas Bloomfield he said, I need a piano player for the run of the festival, and she knew I was up here already doing another show, and said, are you available? And I said, well, I need to check what the times are, and if it doesn't clash, then it should be all right. And so I was
a brave man.
Going blind into a new show.
You're sitting on your hands to keep them warm, I noticed, as we speak, presumably. Keep them limber.
Yeah, got to keep the fingers dexterous. Yeah. So I came in. Well, we opened on the 4th. Had our dress on the 3rd, tech on the 2nd. I came, maybe the 1st or 2nd of August, I think, when the cast came up, and you kind of, went and kind of sight read it. It's not the easiest of scores.
Yes, what's the tone of the score?
I spoke to the composer about it before I agreed to do it, and he's kind of said it's a kind of Kurt Weill-y, bit of Bernstein sort of clashes and stuff, but there's a good mix of stuff. There's a nice sort of torch song ballad at the end, there's some sort of upbeat kind of funky numbers, there's
Is it accessible, would you say?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, people don't mind complication and, as you say, discord, as long as they still feel that they've got some kind of connection with it.
Yes, and I think it was reviewed, and it was mentioned that the reviewer said that she found the score striking.
And how do you find it as, forgive me, in your professional capacity? I mean, is it difficult to play, or have you?
It took me a couple of days. There's a couple, as I say, because it's quite dissonant, and some of the chords aren't where you would naturally think they would be. So it's taken a little bit to look at, but it's getting the hang of it now.
So the composers?
Yes, Nicholas Bloomfield did the music, and Tom Kirkham did the book and the lyrics, and then the arrangements have been done by the MD, who's Mark Place.
Splendid. Now, what I'm interested in is, do you know how they came to write this? If you're their teachers, have they had an experience of...
Yes, I think this is where they started writing it a couple of years ago, I think. This is just from what I've gleaned from talking to various people involved in production. I think that all three of them, those gents, work at a school in Surrey, which I think has quite a few students with learning difficulties, autism, Asperger's, dyslexia, things like that. And they try to sort of amalgamate all of these sort of difficulties into one character.
I mean, that's quite. I mean, that immediately sounds very. I mean, I'm fascinated by this, just because that's such an interesting take on Richard III. I mean, you can play it backwards. Mm-hmm. Does Richard III in the Shakespeare play have some form of autism?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And how have the audience been taking it, if you don't mind me asking?
I think that the more they've been growing in numbers, the more they're responding to it. I think if you're sitting in an audience, the first couple of nights it was quite quiet. So I think if you're sitting with not many people around you, you don't feel too comfortable to kind of laugh or clap.
Yes, absolutely.
But the last couple of nights it's picked up quite a bit, and the audience are they're really responding well to it, and there's people coming out saying they found it really moving, as I said. And
we also had laugh. Interestingly, there is comedy. It's not so earnest as to be painful.
Yes, they kind of they don't kind of play him as a martyr at all. There's a very funny line where they're at a Christmas party hosted by Richard's brothers, and Richard's brothers trying to get him. I think trying to get Richard's friend to go off with this girl who says she's got a lovely pair of personalities, and Richard said, "Oh, she's bipolar." So the audience sort of respond to that one, and there's some humour in there, some pathos, and it's a good mix. Yeah.
Splendid. Well, thank you so much for that. I wish you great success with that, and indeed all the shows that you're doing. And more than anything else, I wish your fingers a jolly rest when it's all over.
Thank you very much.
What we call September.
Yes, they're looking forward to it. Yeah.
That was Neil Somerville. But there's more to say about My Name is Richard. Let's hear from Adam Philps, who was in it.
My name is Adam Philps, and I'm acting in the show. My name is Richard. I play Richard's older brother, Edward. And I'm very excited about being at Edinburgh Festival for the first time. It's my first time here. Now, tell me a little bit about the piece. It's a new musical. It is a new musical. It's written by a man called Thomas Kirkham, who's taken a few shows up to Edinburgh before, but this is his latest one. It's based... The show is about a boy who's got Asperger's syndrome, and it's Thomas in his day job is he's a teacher, and the character is based on his experiences with children who have Asperger's and other such syndromes of that nature. So it's from life in his case. It's from his own experiences of these kind of people, and how they behave and how they act, and it's kind of not a critique, that would be a wrong word to use, but it's informed by them, exactly. And the music is all original as well, composed by a man called Nicholas Bloomfield, and they've teamed up a couple of times. They both work together, but they've taken the show up here because they love it, really. Now, you play Edward. I do. As you say, the elder brother of the eponymous hero. Yes, character, Richard, yes. So what does that involve? My character personally? Yeah. Richard is a character who's picked on a lot at school by a boy called Harry, who's the school bully, if you will. And Edward's job is basically to look after Richard and to protect him from Harry and from the dangers of the world that you would imagine could, befall any sort of teenager I think he's 12, 13 kind of. Edward is 17, 18, and he sees it as his job to look after Richard and to make sure and protect him from harm.
It's an affectionate brotherly relationship.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of scenes are set in the school playground and around their sort of peers, but there's also scenes at home, the domestic scenes as we like to call them, and there's problems with the mum and dad, and Edward's kind of a go-between between them to try and keep everything together. But
so he's a peacemaker in a way in all circumstances. Is he?
You could call it that. I mean, he wants to keep everything. I don't know how to put it. He wants to keep everything. He just wants to have a happy family. He wants everyone to get on, and he wants no harm to come to his brothers and mother and father, as you would imagine. Yeah. But as you see if you come and see the show, it doesn't all work out that way.
And what's Richard's journey? In brief steps.
Richard's main plot line, if you will, is that he's in love, or he says he's in love with a girl called Annie. Now, this love, or Richard's understanding of love, is somewhat I guess it would be appropriate to say he misunderstands the concept, I would say, and he sort of takes it that he loves this girl Annie, who he's known since he was a very small child, when really she's only really spoken to him a couple of times, and
he's an obsession.
Exactly, yeah. Which is a common characteristic often associated with Asperger's syndrome. It's become an obsession, and it's mentioned in the play as an obsession, when Annie really, that's not really how it works. But and much to his brothers and parents' dismay, Richard says that he loves this girl who's dating Harry, the school bully. Oh. So all this comes to a front when Richard tries to get Harry and Annie split up. With not very good consequences. Obviously, I don't wish to, spoil the ending. But yes, it doesn't go too well for him.
Now, interestingly, of course, this is at least loosely based on Richard III by Shakespeare, but
yes.
only loosely, in more in sort of original setup and characters than development of plot.
Yes, I wouldn't go into the play thinking I'm seeing an adaptation of Richard III. I would rather go in, with that story. If those who are familiar with that story will go into it and will see the similarities, of the sort of the troubled hero. Richard III obviously was a nasty piece of work, which our Richard is not. But the sort of the desire and the obsessions within the character. A
little bit of manipulation, in fairness, it has to be said, by the sound of it.
I would say where Richard III's manipulative side is quite definite and quite calculated. Yes. I would say that our Richard's is it's definitely planned and it is calculated, but there's no malice behind it. It's sort of, there is an innocence which isn't shown in Richard III. Yeah, exactly.
Very rarely portrayed as a lovable man.
Innocent, exactly.
So tell me about the score.
The score.
How would you describe it first?
The songs. As I say, they're composed by a man called Nicholas Bloomfield, who's a great composer, and they're sort of they're not. The songs aren't used as tools to how should I put it? They don't tell the story, so to speak. They're more used to create an atmosphere or create or reflect the feelings of the scene. We have a song called The Playground, for example, which is before the playground scene, and it's sort of to introduce the audience to the concept that we're doing a different kind of scene, and that we're doing this is there's been a shift in mood, a shift in atmosphere, and
so it's musical context through song.
Exactly, it enhances it. Rather than carrying along the plot line, which we've wanted to do with the dialogue and with the action, it kind of enhances the atmosphere and makes the audience, certainly draws the audience in, because we've heard them come out singing the song, so then we must be doing something right. But
it's good, strong melodies.
Strong melodies, and you can. After the first time we all rehearsed it, we were going back to our respective houses. It's all we could think about for that night, just trying to sing it, because they do stick in your head.
Any rough genre they fall into, or is it a bit of everything? A bit of jazz, or is it Broadway?
No, it's not.
It's not jazz hands.
It's not jazz hands. No, it's not jazz hands. I wouldn't say. I'm not someone who's particularly in tune with his musical. I'm doing an acting course rather than the musical theatre course, but I do enjoy my musicals, but I wouldn't be able to say particularly what it was like. It's just sort of, it's we've got a live band playing every night. We've got piano, bass guitar, drum kit, so it's stuff that is good to listen to and hopefully will affect people.
And your own singing.
My own singing. You're not going to ask me to do something.
No, I'm going to ask you how you think it's going, because you've just told me that you think you're more of an actor than a singer.
Well, yes. I mean, I do enjoy a bit of singing, and I do try my hands at singing. I've got to do a couple of singing lessons a week. But enough about me. I enjoy. I relish a challenge, and I'm really enjoying doing the show. Doing a bit of dancing, doing a bit of singing, and acting. It's great for me.
But it sounds quite a thoughtful piece. Would you say that's the right word for the tone of the piece overall?
I would definitely say it was. I mean, it's without trying to sound too dramatic about it, we do want people to think about what's happening, rather than just sort of sitting down and switching off for an hour and a half. It
has intellectual content.
It certainly we want people to be provoked, thoughtfully, and to think about the piece, think about their own lives. I'm sure it can relate to anyone who's been to school, for example. Anyone who's had problems at home. They can relate to this. They can.
Have you ever had experience of somebody with autism or Asperger's syndrome or something like that? How easy is it for you as an actor to be able to relate to the character?
Well, my personal acting process is I do like to draw on my own experiences to sort of help me produce the emotion that I need, and I suppose the closest thing I can do is think about my own family, my own brother, my own friends, and sort of try and draw on whatever experiences I've had to create an emotion, and then sort of enhance it for this context. Whether I've come into contact with much with autistic or Aspergic children or adults, I can't really say I have, but it's the way that Blair Anderson, who plays Richard, has created this Aspergic character is, from as far as I can see, quite realistic and very accurate. So it's that, when you've got a good supporting cast around you, it's not that they're the supporting cast and I'm not, but it just certainly helps you to,
in an ensemble.
When you're part of an ensemble, a strong ensemble, it really helps you to create the emotions that you need.
So finally, or moving towards the end then, what have you drawn from the piece yourself?
Well, I'm a student who's on a 3-year acting course, and I've just finished my first year, and this has really come at the perfect time for me. It's a time when I want to be trying to do as much work as possible and get experience of the industry and experience of approaching a character and being part of a show, and this is really what it's done for me. We're here for 25 nights in a row, and it's I've not done anything like this before, so it's a very challenging but very worthwhile experience, I think, for me, and something that I can go into my second year saying I've done, and something that has really helped me.
Fab as well, I'd have thought. Fun and
great fun. The people that we're staying with, we've got a real sort of family atmosphere within the cast, and that's really it's really fun to be around. Everyone, and we're loving it. We're absolutely loving it.
Splendid. Do you have a website?
People can find out about the show through Facebook. We've got a Facebook website. If you just log on to Facebook and type in "My name is Richard," we've got the website there, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about coming to see the show.
Marvellous. Well, I wish you every success.
Thank you very much.
And best of luck.
Yes, thanks for your time. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
And my thanks go to Neil Somerville and to Adam Philps there. And Adam wrote to me after the show, and I'd just like to say, hello, Adam. Thank you so much for your time. And you'll be pleased to know that the recording worked perfectly. Now, what links Plague with pirates? Well, there was one theatrical company putting on a musical about both. The first called Plague, the second called Pyromania. And Pyromania spelt with an I, because it was about pirates and not about arson.
My name's Tim Frost, and I'm up here with Bubonic Productions. We have 2 shows this year. One is Plague the Musical, and the other is Pyromania, the swashbuckling pirate musical.
Now, Plague's been up here before, hasn't it? Because indeed, I think I saw it 2 years ago.
It was, yes. 2008, it was a Fringe sellout show up here at the Fringe. I was in it 2 years ago, and then when it finished, the chap who wrote the music said to me, "Would you like to write a show together?" And I said,
Go on then.
All right, that'd be a fun thing to do. So we did, and that's where Pyromania started.
And did you immediately start with the idea of pirates, or how exactly you got to this position?
Well, we played around with a few ideas. I wrote synopses for probably 4 or 5 different thoughts, some of which are still floating around in the back of my mind.
And I musical may yet occur.
There may be a few pouring out of my odd head, and the reason we settled on pirates was a friend of mine who actually is our stage manager now. Every year on his birthday has Pirate Day, and we all dress up like pirates and go to pirate themed pubs and drink rum.
And quite a lot.
Yeah,
yes.
And Dave,
seen it done.
Yes, Dave Massingham, who is the chap who writes the music, said to me, "Do you want to rehearse?" And I said, "Oh, I can't. It's Pirate Day." And then we kind of went, ooh, hang on a minute. Everyone likes pirates. They're great fun. And if you're going out to Edinburgh with a show that you want people to come and see, a comedy musical about pirates is a pretty surefire winner, I think.
And so, having got the idea, how long did what's the gestation period of this show?
The gestation of Pyromania is a lot shorter than Plague, because Plague was a slow burn right over, I think, about 6 years, because the two writers weren't always in the same country,
yes,
which tends to impair things a bit. It's 2 years exactly since I was asked.
Oh, right.
But
it was here in Edinburgh now.
Yeah, literally the last week in Edinburgh, he said, "Do you want to write a show?" We didn't start straight away, and it was a few months before we settled on Pirates, and obviously it has been written for a few months because it's up. Well, something we tried very, very hard not to do is to have a show that people would see and say, "Oh, it's a bit like Plague."
So it is totally different.
It's not. It's the same feel. It's still a comedy musical. It's still very light-hearted and very tongue-in-cheek. But we've actively tried to make a difference. So it's in Plague the Musical, you have a lot of people playing a lot of parts. It's quite busy. The story is quite intricate. Whereas in Pyromania, it's a more simplistic story, and it's more. The characters are solid the whole way through. There's only a couple of little doubling ups, and only for very small parts. It is also aimed at slightly older, I would say. I mean, the trunk line for Pyromania is murder, betrayal, and incest on the high seas.
Yeah, it's not your 5-year-olds play, is it?
It's not for 5-year-olds, but then, I mean, to be honest, 5-year-olds wouldn't
get some of it. Yes, fine.
The problems. Also, Pyromania was directed by a chap called James Kermack and choreographed by a lady called Raki Plews, who are brilliant.
We've interviewed Raki before.
Yes, I'm sure you have.
Raki.
Everyone knows Raki. Yes. But they both have very different styles to myself.
Oh, right.
So the fact I've directed one, especially the one I've not written, and got someone else to direct, that it's just, they have got very different feels. They're both very funny. They're both brilliantly done. The cast are superb. I can't tell you how proud I am of
How would you
everyone.
describe the score, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, it's difficult to pigeonhole scores sometimes.
It is. And obviously, depending on which song, we've gone for different feels. There's one particular number that when we started writing it, we thought, well, this is our GNS number. We're doing a show about pirates, we have to have a GNS number. So it's a hornpipe, patter song, GNS-esque. Yeah. But obviously the whole show's not like that. That's just one song. Otherwise...
I mean, is it a series of different pastiches, would you say? Or is it just...
No, that's probably the only pastiche. Unless maybe we look at 80s rock ballads.
Yes.
There's a bit of feel of that. There's a couple of power ballady type moments. But generally, the style of it, I would say, is Frost and Massingham.
Go on, that's... Yes. Which is you.
Us,
yes.
Yeah. Plague has more of a pastiche feel to the music, slightly. This one has less so.
And how did you cast it?
Sent casting breakdowns to Spotlight and Casting Call Pro.
You haven't called in some of the people you used before or anything like that?
No, but there's one person from the last cast, but I put him in a different role because I think it's much more fun that way. Yeah. I like to play around.
And very briefly, without ruining the plot in any way, you've given us the tagline. Can you elaborate a little on the plot?
Yeah, Pyromania. It tells the story of John Silverman, who's a lowly young bartender who gives up everything to become a pirate, but soon finds himself engrossed in a world of murder, betrayal, incest, and Welsh people.
And how's that gone down? I noticed you're here in Scotland rather than Cardiff.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we only got one Welsh character in it. And I defy people not to fall in love with her.
Oh, splendid.
Writing the character I fell in love, and everyone who sees it just says, "Oh, I love her." It's not offensive at all.
It's just a leg-pulling jollity.
Yes.
And has it gone down well with the audience so far? Would you say
we've done 2 of each show so far.
It's early days yet in the festival.
It's early days.
At the time of recording.
having said that, we were sold out last night.
Oh, jolly good.
We haven't had an audience less than 60, which is
pretty stunning from the beginning, actually.
Yeah, I'm a little bit overwowed at the moment.
And were they also overwowed?
Well,
beautiful word, which I
thanks.
coin as my own, by the way. And then
heard it here first. Thank you very much.
Oh damn! Yes, the evidence is on.
Yes, you actually you're recording yourselves here. Perjury. I like making up words. It's funny. Like Pyromania. So yeah, well, last night we were everything as Edinburgh. We were running a bit late. The audience for the next show were waiting outside to come in, and when I went out to open the doors to let my lot out, I was bombarded by the next show's audience saying, "What is that? It sounds amazing. I need to see it."
Oh, jolly good.
That's
been positive.
Yeah,
they've obviously.
They sound fantastic. They look fantastic. I know, obviously, I'm biased, but I've got 2 great shows that I'm so incredibly proud of. I can't begin to tell you.
So, what next for you?
Oh, gosh.
And is this going anywhere further as well?
Well, going further, I would love it to. I am in very slight talks with people about possible things, but nothing.
Whispers.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there a Soto version of a whisper? It's very quiet. It's very quiet, but who knows? It would be lovely. Obviously, it was written for Edinburgh, so it is an hour and 15 minutes. If it went further, then it would need to be filled out.
Although you do have a double bill in your hands.
We do have a double bill in our hands. This is true. We have thought about that, but they're very tiring shows.
Yeah.
My cast are generally knackered after one. We did double bill it in previews in London, and they were fabulous. But it's tiring, and to do that over a long period. We did 2 days of double bill, and that was enough. Definitely. For myself personally, I have no idea. I'm actually an actor by trade. When Dave asked me to write a show, my first thought was I've never written a show before. I have written. I'm a writer for News Review.
Oh right, the
comedy show.
The long-running comedy.
The Guinness Book of Records longest-running comedy sketch show in the world.
Last year.
Yes, I've written for them on and off for about 5 years, but they're sketches and scenes and songs. This was my first ever full-length piece. I am being coerced by pretty much everyone who's seen it to do another one.
Oh, well, good.
Which is lovely. Yeah. But there's a fear. Obviously, it's
a difficult second album.
Yeah, it's the second album thing. Will it be as good? We will see. I mean, like I said, I've got ideas playing in my mind, and I know Dave's up for doing more.
What's your website?
Well, the company website is www.bubonicproductions.com, and through there you can link to either show, but you can also go to pyromaniathemusical.com or plaguethemusical.com.
Splendid. Well, thank you very much. Best of luck for the rest of your run.
Thank you very much. Lovely, thank you.
Musical Talk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hi, I'm Marty. I play the role of Jay, which is a secondary character.
Hi, I'm Beth. I play Daisy, who is sort of the heroine of the piece, and the story focuses around her being put in prison, and did she do it, didn't she, kind of her relationship with her boyfriend during that time.
I'm Ollie. I play Ferguson, who's kind of the villain of the piece. I'm the prison guard as such.
And I'm Grace. I'm playing Carla, and I'm the one who's been in prison for quite a long time, in love with Ferguson, and quite upset that Daisy's, kind of trying to steal my man in a sense, and just don't really like her very much. Yeah.
Now, this is called Sweet Talk, the mugshot musical, which suggests prison, and I'm getting those vibes from the way you've been describing it. So tell me a bit about the piece. I mean, you've sort of mentioned it in passing, but in a couple of sentences, what's it all about?
It's kind of about what happens on the inside that you don't see, kind of what the general public would think prison is about. And it follows Daisy, who has been falsely accused of selling drugs. She has in her past been a prostitute, and so that throws up some issues with her boyfriend, who really can't trust her. So she's thrown in prison, and she's kind of surrounded by a pack of lions, essentially, which are led by Carla and her sidekicks T and J. she thinks that the only way she can possibly get out is by trying to sleep her way out with Ferguson, who has been kind of sleeping with Carla but on a non-committal basis, and it all gets a bit tangled. Daniel, Daisy's boyfriend, gets very concerned. Ferguson says that he doesn't actually love Carla when he does, and then it all comes out at the end in a nice musical bit ending.
Yeah,
it's all jazz.
Yeah, Daisy's innocent.
I don't think there's a single jazz hand in it. I think we refrained from using jazz.
We did actually refrain. It is jazzy music
refused to go that
Not
far.
even the one jazz hand?
No, we do.
I'm sure
we
at
do
points
have.
there's a slight twitch.
We do have some Fosse-esque choreography in there, but we've restricted ourselves to stopping at the wrist.
Yes.
So
what's the tone? Is it comic? Is it serious? Or is it a mixture of everything? How would you describe it all?
It's a bit of a mixture, I think.
I'd say it's more serious. It's got comic elements, but we didn't want to do a kind of all-out comedy kind of musical.
Yeah.
It's probably more of a serious comedy. That made no sense. A serious musical with elements of comedy.
Yeah.
And when it's a new piece.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
completely brand newly written. Yes, Harriet Hardy and Rosie Pavley are the writers. We are from the University of Bristol. Both Harriet and Rosie have just graduated. They were up with the show last year, which they had written as well, and they decided they wanted to do it all over again. So here we are, basically.
Forgive me, sidestep. Is Bristol... Brunger and Cleary came from Bristol, I think. Do you know Brunger and Cleary? Jake Brunger and Pippa Cleary?
Yes, Pippa Cleary is a good friend of ours.
Yes, we did. She musically directed one of our shows a couple of years ago.
Did you?
She's great, and she did Jet Set Go here 2 years ago.
She did, and she did the Great British Soap Opera last year.
Yeah.
Which was also wonderful.
We all love Pippa and Jake.
Yeah, Pippa's great.
So, Bristol is a powerhouse of musicals, isn't it? Clearly.
It's got a huge amount of shows up this year as well.
So, tell me about the score. How would you describe it? If it's possible to... how would you describe the style of the music?
Yeah, off the bat, I'd say, as I've been describing it on the Mile, it's very bluesy, it's very jazzy, it's got a lot of...
pretty fast-paced rhythms at points, though.
The lyrics are very fast-paced, and we have to keep on top of them with our breathing and things like that. But it's great. I really love the music. I think that's really one of our strongest selling points. Purely, it's a newly written show, but also that it is strong. We have live piano, live drums, live bass guitar, and a really good sound comes out of the band. And it's always a pleasure to sing and play with.
You get all the different types of songs that you need. You've got like a very bluesy one to start off with. You have an upbeat, fun kind of comic one. You've got a
standard love song,
love ballad,
love duet. Yeah,
you've got really everything that you need in there.
I think the main thing about the songs is they're horribly catchy.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
they're horribly catchy.
We can't get away from them.
We can't. We'd go to bed at night singing them. Our bassist was saying yesterday she didn't get to bed till 2 because she was just singing the first song in her head for an hour.
Oh, really? But that's a sign of that. I mean, that genuinely is a good sign, because I have the same thing. If I see a show and there's a song that rolls around your head, you curse it at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's a great thing.
We don't want to be forgettable. And I really don't think we are.
People come out and there's always one song called How Dare You, which people always remember.
Oh, that probably is the song that everybody really
catchy and
gets into.
It's great. The music really is the selling point of the whole show. Yeah.
And how have you, as performers, been able to respond to it? Is it tricksy? Is it difficult? Is it, or does it slip off the tongue?
I think it's always quite difficult to try to do a full-blown story in only an hour.
Yeah.
So everything does move quite fast-paced, which can be difficult as an actor. But for the audience, I think that they quite enjoy just seeing everything happen and being able to see a full story arc in that hour.
Yeah. We give them a very good progression, I think. Through from beginning to end.
There's a proper journey.
There is.
Yeah. There's just kind of it depends. Each of us come from different backgrounds. I myself come from more kind of just acting background, so I personally find I've done musicals before, but I find it harder to do the
singing. Isn't your first port of call? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, Ollie, don't underestimate
It's
yourself.
not that I
adoring.
Oh, I'm fantastic at singing.
You just don't
he actually is.
I come from a theatre background, so. But then there's other people, like the guy who plays Daisy's boyfriend is very much musical. He's a classically trained singer.
Yeah.
So
fantastic. Well, splendid. I wish you all great success.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And do you have a website?
Not for our specific company,
we have
but
the Ed Fringe website.
For tickets, to book tickets online, you can go to www.c, which is the letter C, like carrot, thefestival.com. So that's thefestival.com.
Find us on there, or try searching us on Facebook.
We've got a Facebook.
And people can find us there and find out more info.
Splendid.
Yeah. And we'll
best
put
of,
reviews up. And
best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Well, that brings us to the end of these 3 possibly exhausting for you episodes of Musical Talk from the Edinburgh Fringe 2010. It's the best week of the year for me, and I hope to continue doing it for many, many years to come. If you do get a chance to go to the Edinburgh Fringe, do so. It's an opportunity too good to miss, frankly. Don't forget to go to our website, that's www.musicaltalk.co.uk, or you might like to go to our lovely, lovely sister podcast, Drama Talk, at www.dramatalk.co.uk. It's very, very simple. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget the normal service of Musical Talk resumes next week. Nary a mention of Edinburgh, I suspect, for a few weeks at least. Boo-hoo. But until that point, let's finish with another song from the invective Dan Kamikaze. So until such time as we meet again, I say goodbye to you and ask you to come de-atomizing with me, as any good super international villain should.
I still remember when I was a boy, beating up babies was my life's joy. Pulling wings of flies was my second favorite thing. I soon learned the pleasure that torture could bring. When I got older, my taste changed. I got more and more and even more deranged. The more I was naughty, the more I had fun, and nothing matches the thrill of being on the run. I'm really bad when I'm mad. Hot damn, I do what I can to inconvenience my fellow man, but with this crime I've reached the top of the tree, so won't you come de-atomizing with me? Forget the Joker and other villains. Compared to me, they look like good Samaritans. I'm nasty, I'm evil, I'm a little crazy, and after a big meal I feel a little lazy. Listen to me, bud, I'm not good. Hot damn, I do what I can to inconvenience my fellow man, but with this crime I've reached the top of the tree, so won't you come de-atomizing with me? I've got the machine and I'm really keen to try it out on some deserving being. The obvious choice is my prisoner Dan, who seems an eminently torturable man. I'll throw the switch, it'll land on the floor. I'll turn on the power, then I'll turn on some more. And as I watch Dan fading away, I'll reflect on how life can be really okay. First, he'll glow, then he'll go. Hot damn, I do what I can to inconvenience my fellow man, but with this crime I've reached the top of the tree, so won't you come de-atomizing with me? Hot damn, I do what I can to inconvenience my fellow man, but with this crime I've reached the top of the tree, so won't you come de-atomizing with me?
This episode edited and presented by Thos Ribbits. Copyright Musical Talk 2010, except for the songs where the copyright persists with the original creators.
Rock and roll! Woo!
And now, for the last time this year, some Edinburgh Fringe Out talks. We're on again, splendid. So I'll do the same thing again, name, involvement, and then we'll take it from there. We're now recording. I'll ask you just to say random things for levels, but is that all right? You have a lovely little bit of glitter just beneath your eye, by the way. It just finishes you off to perfection, if I may say.
It's impossible to get rid of. Yes.
Are you the gentleman in the hat sitting in the box?
No.
Oh,
that's sound.
That was someone else. Yeah.
It was just I could see this hat bobbing up in this little gap in the wall.
Yeah, that's sound. I did the light.
Is that all right for you?
Yeah, it's fine.
There's nothing in there.
No, I don't think so. I mean, only my stumbling over words, but that's normal.
And it's going to pour with rain, but let's see what happens. What I'll ask you to do is just say who you are, what the show is, and what your involvement is. I mean, we'll take it there for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm going to put the umbrella up and carry on the conversation.
Sounds like a good idea.
Don't worry, I'll cover us both.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
well,
yeah.
I'm so sorry. One for the outtakes. Anyway, right, carrying on.
I would guess about a year in total.
And what's the tone of it? I'm guessing does it share a feeling with play, which is essentially extremely jokey and surreal and fun?
Is you okay with this? Do we need to wait?
It's all right. This kind of thing goes in the outtakes.
Excellent.
The man is taking a very long time to park a very big bike.
Yes.
It's all right. It's perfectly fine. I'll just.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's
wait.
human. All human interest is here.
Yes. Oh no, more. Yes. God, he drives like I write comedy. The tone. So yes.
All right. Hey guys.
Hello.
Do you mind if I borrow a bit of space here? Oh, sorry, you're doing it.
We may only be 2 minutes.
Can I have a little bit of space here?
Long outtakes on this episode.
Oh yes.
Sorry. So where can people see it now here in Edinburgh?
Here in Edinburgh we are on at... Sorry.
I love you.
My turn. Here in Edinburgh we are playing at 8:30 every night. We're in Rep.
It's the big basement.
It's the purpose-built theatre. So
sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah. It's a cross-arch stage in the Fringe. So the acoustics are perfect. And you'll see us on the mile every day.
And there's a man standing on a bollard waving a skull and crossbones on a flag, which is quite striking, one has to say.
Yes.
This is how I found you.
Yay!
Was that all right?
Yeah, I don't think I said anything.
No, you were fantastic.
Okay.
I don't think it was you or the problem. What I was going to ask you each your name and what your involvement in the piece is.
Yes.
Then just talk conversationally for about 5-10 minutes, if that's all right, if that's agreeable.
Yeah. Cool.
So I'll start from the left and just.
Okay. Hi, I'm Marty. Oh, what's that about?
It means I need to put some new batteries in. Would you give me 2 seconds while I do
No,
that?
go ahead.